In a quiet village where everyone seemed busy and constantly rushing through life, there lived a man named Shen. He stood out not because of wealth or talent, but because of how unusually slow he was. While others chased work, argued, and tried to control every part of their lives, Shen chose to simply observe. He spoke very little, competed with no one, and never seemed in a hurry. Instead, he allowed things to unfold naturally. Because of this, the villagers often saw him as someone who did nothing. Some even considered him useless. But behind that calm and passive appearance was a deep understanding of life, something most people fail to recognize. In contrast to Shen was Wei, a young man who worked hard and carried a strong desire to change his fate. Born into difficult circumstances, Wei believed that with enough effort and strict saving, he could build a better future. He sacrificed his basic needs, eating poorly, ignoring his leaking roof, enduring discomfort just to save money. To him, every coin in his jar was more than money. It was hope, it was security, it was a way out. Two people, two completely different ways of living. One chose to slow down to understand life, the other struggled to control and change it. And from this contrast, a deeper lesson was about to unfold. From the beginning, Wei held a belief so strong it felt unshakable. If he saved enough money, he would be safe. To him, money was not just a tool, it was protection. A shield against poverty, against uncertainty, against everything he feared. Every coin he saved brought him closer to the life he dreamed of. In his mind, the more he accumulated, the more secure his future would be. Because of this belief, he began sacrificing almost everything in the present. He ate less, choosing the cheapest food possible just to save a little more. When his roof leaked, he didn't fix it, he simply moved to another corner to avoid the rain. His worn-out sandals were never replaced, only patched enough to keep going. Comfort became a luxury he refused to allow himself. Over time, his life became harsher. But inside him, something else grew: pride. Each night, as he dropped coins into the jar, he felt like he was building something meaningful. The jar slowly filling up became proof of his discipline, his effort, his sacrifice. It held not just money, but his belief, his suffering, and his hope for a better future. Wei began to see himself as someone who was progressing. Even though his present life was filled with hardship, he believed it was temporary, that one day, all this sacrifice would be worth it. But what he didn't realize was that the very thing he trusted for safety was slowly starting to control him. Everything changed one morning. Wei decided to take his jar of savings, the one he had built over months of sacrifice, to the market. His heart was full of hope. He believed this money would finally improve his life. He could buy rice, warm clothes, maybe even prepare for the future. As he held the jar, it felt heavy, like he was holding his own security. But that feeling didn't last long. At the market, when the seller began weighing his money, something strange happened. In front of Wei, portions of rice were slowly removed from the scale to match the value of the coins he offered. Confused, he watched closely, trying to understand. In his mind, the jar was full. It was enough. It represented months of effort, but reality said otherwise. The seller simply told him that the money had lost value, that it was no longer worth what it used to be. In that moment, Wei froze. The jar was still heavy in his hands, but its meaning was disappearing. He wasn't cheated, nothing was stolen, and yet, he felt like he had lost everything. All those days of hunger, all those sacrifices suddenly felt meaningless. On the way home, the jar weighed the same, but his heart felt heavier. For the first time, Wei began to realize something terrifying. The security he had trusted all along might have been nothing more than an illusion. After hearing Wei's story, Shen didn't argue or lecture him. Instead, he chose a simple way to let Wei see the truth for himself. He took one coin from Wei and a dry bean from his sleeve. Then he walked to the soft soil near the river and buried both of them side by side. No long explanation, just one sentence: "Come back in a week." A week later, Wei returned. Shen was already there, waiting. He said nothing, just nodded toward the ground. Wei knelt down and dug up the bean first. From the soil, a small green sprout had emerged, fragile but alive. Then he dug up the coin. It was exactly the same, cold, hard, unchanged. That's when Shen finally spoke. One is alive, one is dead. Then he looked directly at Wei and said, "You are trying to grow a future from something that cannot grow." That moment stayed with Wei. For the first time, he began to question everything he believed. Money wasn't the problem, but the way he used it was. He thought he was building safety, but in reality, he was trapping himself. His life had become smaller, tighter, controlled by fear and accumulation. Every decision revolved around saving more, not living better. He wasn't controlling money anymore. Money was controlling him, and that realization changed something inside him. Shen didn't tell him to stop saving. He simply said, "Keep some, but not all." Then he gave him a simple idea. Buy 2 chickens. It sounded small, almost meaningless, but it wasn't. Because unlike money sitting still, chickens could create something new. They could turn scraps into eggs, something you can eat, something you can sell, something that continues. For the first time, Wei saw the difference. Saving keeps value, creating grows it. Wei didn't change overnight. He started small. He bought 2 weak, thin chickens. At first, it was frustrating. They were messy, unpredictable, and difficult to manage. But he stayed patient. Then one day, the first egg appeared. Small, simple, but different. It wasn't stored. It was created. From that moment, things slowly changed. 1 egg became 2. 2 became more. His life didn't transform instantly, but it began to move. He had more food, a little extra income, and slowly his home improved. But the biggest change wasn't outside. It was inside him. For the first time, he stopped obsessing over how much he had and started focusing on what he could create. And that changed everything.